feel good about the fact that we got a response here tonight, but we got to play better than we did today.
Win and move on. Sheldon Keefe, happy about the win, but it's time to move on to Game 3. The Leafs beat
Was he happy
the
about
Lightning.
that?
I don't know. He didn't seem too happy,
Didn't
but
seem
I'm
too
sure
happy.
he is. 7-2, a big win after losing 7-3 in Game 1. Maple Leafs Nation had a bit of a meltdown after Game 1, thinking, how can you not be prepared for a team you knew you were going to play for probably about a year?
Fans overreact too much, don't they?
We did it too, but it's great. It's nice. You got to get it out a little bit.
You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start with this, Sharms? There's a lot of positives. There's one negative. I think we'll get to that
Yellow
near the
hoodie?
end of the block, which I feel there's one negative. But in terms of positives, I mean, a hat trick for Tavares.
Yeah, that was important. Two
Huge.
two even strength goals too.
Yeah.
He had like 1 assist in 20 last games or something, even strength. So that was big. Morgan Riley stepping up. The most veteran of all the players there. He's been through all the heartbreak. He knows more about this market than anyone. He stepped up. What I liked about this game was in that second period when the Leafs were all over Tampa, couldn't beat Vasilevsky. Backhand Tampa, they scored to get back into the game, and then the Leafs didn't wilt. They stood up, they responded, and then they took the rest of the game to Tampa. So that was a big moment, I think, for this team. Listen, it was a very, very impressive performance. Can they do it back-to-back? That's the question. We haven't seen that yet.
No.
So still question marks, but overall, what can you say? Extremely positive. But Tampa, I'm sure their fan base is talking to them about much the same way Leaf fans talking about Leafs after Game 1 because they weren't great.
I was really impressed with what the Toronto Maple Leafs did yesterday, what they did in the first period especially. They came out, and you're not going to push us around anymore. Mark Giordano dropped the mitts. Luke Shen, of course, dropped the mitts too. The physicality was there. The fight was there, and they made an impact on the scoreboard. And as we mentioned, it was the big guys that stepped up. Marner, Tavares, Nylander, first 3 goals. Tone set right there. Then Tavares again gets the 4th goal. And you saw this team fight. But John Cooper postgame made some very interesting comments to me where, he backed up his team. He said, I'll put up my 3 centers against anybody in the league. I have Andrei Vasilevsky. He's the best goalie in the world. Tampa Bay will bounce back. And the Leafs have to be prepared for that. Game 3 in Tampa Bay. The crowd's going to be into it. Sheldon Keefe said it best post-game too. It's a best-of-5 series, and we don't have home ice advantage. Taking a play out of John Cooper's playbook, playing the underdog role.
Yeah.
That right there, I like that mentality. Our backs are against the wall. The Leafs last night played like their backs were against the wall, and that's what you saw. Like they dominated every aspect of the game, and that right there is what the Toronto Maple Leafs need to do consistently if they want to win this
Listen,
series.
if you go back to the last playoff series, they alternated wins up from Game 1 to Game 5. So this is probably 6 or 7. More likely 7, I feel. If the Leafs play this way and Tampa can play the way that they played in Game 1, which there's all indications that they will, this is going to go all the way, you would think.
The Hedman situation, right? That's enormous.
huge.
It's just huge.
Massive.
Who knows about him as well?
Right.
Essentially, the top 2 minute eaters on that blue line gone, potentially, right? It's huge. So, yeah, we'll see. The jury is still very much out. And as great as Tampa was in that first game, the Leafs were horrible in that first game. I wonder if there's less pressure now on the Leafs going away from home, though, for that third game. Tampa's loud. It's going to be intimidating to a certain degree, but you are a little bit out of the microscope. So I wonder if that plays somewhat into the Leafs' hands. Maybe they'll be loose.
I don't know if I agree with that because the pressure's always on the Toronto Maple Leafs no matter where they're. They could be playing this game in Tampa Bay, in Siberia, wherever. The pressure's going to be on them to get out of the first round. I just think that them going on the road in that hostile environment, I need to see another good start from them. I need to see that. That first period is critical. And we saw the story of the series so far. The first periods of each game, whichever team gets the upper hand in that first period, they both have dominating first periods, end up winning the game. So the start is critical, neutralizing that crowd. And how is Samsonov going to perform on the road? We know he's been very good throughout the regular season at home. Had a very good performance yesterday. Can he play well on the road? That's the other question.
Right. He was really calm, I felt, from the first shot, which was huge for them. Here's Sheldon Keefe talking about Samsonov's performance in Game 2.
I was really excited about how Sammy handled himself yesterday. He first of all acknowledged that he wasn't good enough, and that's one thing, but nobody wants to see a guy come in and be moping around or feeling sorry for himself or anything like that. And it was the opposite for him. He's all smiles, he's got energy, and he wanted to get working on the ice. And then he did a terrific job. He competed and battled on the ice. To me, wasn't letting anything get by him yesterday in practice. That sends a strong message, I think, to your team, and that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's huge. I think for a guy who was brought in to essentially be the number 2 to Matt Murray, if Matt Murray worked out, to kind of step up in that fashion says a lot about him. I mean, the fact that he really, not just him, but the whole team, but he really laid an egg in that game one. And to bounce back the way that he did, I think showed poise and maybe a bit of a swagger as
Tenacity,
well.
tenacious, right? Yeah, I mean,
That's got to help the team as well, James.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, his record throughout the campaign, when he has a average to below average performance, he usually bounces back with a good performance. And apparently yesterday he was actually the day before yesterday, wanted to be at the practice session on the ice that morning. We're usually speaking after a game, the goaltender would have his choice of what to do. So he went out there, he stood tall, his teammates saw that. He said, "Don't worry, boys, I have this one." And he played well. No, listen, he didn't steal the game by any stretch. Tampa weren't great, but he did the job. No soft goals, some big saves down the stretch. Wasn't that busy, but what more can you ask? So yeah, well done. Now, like Justin said, get it done on the road, because that's a different animal entirely.
The defense in front of him pretty much kept all the shots to the outside, which really helped Samsonov, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The defense stepped up big. And I think just the whole team, after that first game, we all saw just how the lack of energy and the lack of readiness. This team yesterday was ready to play. They were ready to play a playoff hockey game at home, and they fed off that energy. They came out with a purpose, and they did it. And I think now you have to build off that. But here's the thing. You can't get too high or too low during this series, right? Yes, you had a very dominating win, right? But you know that you can't get too high. Okay, well, we're going to win the next 3 games and take this in 5. You're going to have to prepare. This is going to go 7 games, double overtime, whatever, that you have to be on your toes and ready to play at every particular moment. Because
how can that team last night be the same team as you saw in game 1? How does have it? Is there a more Jekyll and Hyde team in sport?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable because Tampa, okay, not great last night, but they played hard.
They did.
Hit everything in sight. They're up for the challenge, right? Didn't win the game. They were blown out, okay, but they never gave up, right? And then in that third period, they're going after the Leafs.
Yeah.
Whereas the Leafs we saw in the first game, this I don't know, shrinking violet, wouldn't touch anything, no heart, grit, whatever you want to call it. And then the team we saw last night, the complete opposite. I don't trust this team yet, that's for sure.
Oh, of course. What is this Leaf team going to be like when they go down again in this series? What if they go down 1 or 2 zip to start the game game? How are they going to react to that? Are they going to shrink like they did in game 1? You're right. You can't. There's no way you can trust this team, right? There's for some reason, a lot of these guys have playoff experience, but there's such an inexperience when it comes to.
It seems that way.
Being in tough situations.
They've never won when the going got tough.
Yeah.
They've never been put in a position where, I guess the last game their backs were against the wall, but in that moment, or even just in a game, like say for example, they go down 3-2 in the third period, right? Can they have that moment where they can lift up and overcome that adversity and tie the game and get that big goal? That to me is what is going to set this team apart from other previous failures.
Yeah, and there's guys who have been there. Ryan O'Reilly, who I thought was fantastic last night, probably one of the best players on the ice for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he helped Matthew Nyes, who I thought was also really good. So did Keefe. He actually mentioned Ryan O'Reilly and Achari as being pros for helping out the way he did.
Not in particular, he takes a penalty in the first period, but I thought he skated well. It's hard on the puck. He made a couple great offensive plays. So it's a real good performance for him. And O'Reilly and Achari, they were real pros tonight. Just how they took care of him and how they took care of the game when they were out there.
Yeah, listen, Nyes was good, don't get me wrong, and I like Nyes. I like him a lot. He's physical, he fits in there well, he's got a man's body for a younger guy. But let's just all calm down a bit. Leaf Nation's getting a little bit overexcited right now.
You didn't order his jersey yet?
This is not the second time of Eric Lindros in his rookie year. Right?
Hey, I was listening to watching the game, and when he made that power move and drove it to the net, everybody with the crowd just erupted. It's like, okay, yes, it was a great play. He almost scored, but let's just. Yeah. You're not going to get that.
But you got it. But you saw
flash, and you saw.
You mentioned O'Reilly. Yeah. You saw him on the bench, constantly talking
to him. Yeah.
Great leadership. And O'Reilly was offered the A, I think, for one of the games.
And he turned it down.
And he said, "No, don't want it. Don't worry. I'll lead the way I lead."
And that's exactly what they brought him
He's clearly one of the leaders on that team right now.
Yeah, you're right. I get it. You can't get too crazy and too high about Nyes, but you got to give him credit.
Of course.
Oh, no, for sure.
It's his 4th NHL game.
Yeah,
Nobody's
nobody's taking.
precisely. It's a fourth NHL
I know,
game.
but playing in
Fourth
the
game.
playoffs to play the way that he did, right? Okay, he took that penalty early on. That probably wasn't a penalty. The officiating was a bit 50-50 again. But with that said, for the majority of the game, you'd probably have to give him a 6 or a 7 out of 10 based on what he
I'm
played.
personally, as a Leaf fan, now getting really concerned. I can't enjoy this. I'm getting concerned about his next contract and what it looks like. You know,
Is he gonna
how
be-
can we afford to
is he
pay
gonna
Matt
hold- is
Knight
he gonna
11
hold out? Is
when
he
we
gonna
only
hold
have, you know, Austin Matthews, but that put on 15,
Yeah.
Mitch on 14,
Yeah.
JT on 9 by that point.
I do want to say this though, Leaf fans, karma is you know what.
Is
So
what?
be careful.
What is it?
Here we go.
What is
I'm
it?
not gonna swear again on TV for the second straight day.
What are you
Look,
talking about here?
Buddy with the
karma?
yellow hoodie, everybody chirping the look.
Hey, life in the stands. It's nice to
Karma
see.
is a real thing. This is setting up for memes that if the Leafs lose this series, it's just ammo for fans across the
Trust
league
me,
to come at
I don't
you.
think Leaf fans care about memes at this point.
They
anymore.
should look. I'm just saying, karma is a real thing. Be
Okay, that
careful.
guy was a clown. I
Buddy
get
in the
it.
yellow hoodie, calm down. All right.
Was it his
Settle
mum,
down.
by the way, yelling at him?
I have no idea.
Maybe
I don't
his
even
mum.
know what was going on.
If you're watching this, whoever that, can I say the word twat? I just did. that twat.
yeah.
Right, like just settle down. You got big thing of perspex glass in between you and security, and it's Pat Maroon who would destroy you.
Yeah, Pat Maroon and Tanner
Whoa,
Janelle.
whoa,
Tanner Janelle.
whoa. You're
Like,
the one
settle
who was
down,
getting
you
on your
moron.
high horse yesterday. I could take Pat Maroon in a fight. I could take Pat Maroon.
I never said I'd take Pat
You
Maroon to
did.
fight. No, I didn't.
Want me to pull up a message?
No, I said Corey Perry.
Oh, Corey Perry.
Don't
Sorry.
put this out there. Now, Corey
Corey
Perry,
Perry
you know you want
in
to
a fight?
scrap?
I'm
No.
giving the Lightning bulletin board material right now going to game 3.
No, will they put my face on the
Yes,
bulletin
it's a
board?
public
This
enemy
Toronto-based
number 1.
media numpty thinks
No.
he can beat
Pat
Corey Perry.
Maroon,
Well,
I did not
he's-
say I can fight you, Pat Maroon. You're a nice guy. I don't want any trouble. Tanner Janelle. Corey
But
Perry,
Corey, yeah, I think
might
he-
have
I
a
think he'd
shot.
destroy you.
Not on the ice, though.
No,
No,
in
no.
the alleys.
Yeah, in the alley.
Okay, fair enough.
He'd probably destroy me still.
Knife fight?
Why do you gotta throw that out there for, man?
Because when I saw the guy in the yellow hoodie, I thought that was you for a
I'm
second.
gonna make up some stories about you soon.
I thought that was you when I was watching the game. Like, what's Albert doing there?
What, the fat, short, pudgy guy with the yellow Johnny
Yeah,
Yellow
he's not fair.
hoodie?
He's not short.
The TV didn't do it justice. I
Pat Maroon, I'm sorry. Please don't come after me, okay? All right, stay tuned for more Homestand after the break.